I understand that the Diddy conversation is kind of getting beaten like a dead horse, but however, you haven't had horse meat yet. Don't dog it until you try it. Now, we're going to beat this horse until it's no longer any meat on it either, because there are countless, countless, countless people coming forward or being exposed as either having a hand in, participating in, or trying to run from association with Diddy. A new one popped up. George Lopez. Now, George went. George has come a long way, and I don't mean that in a positive way. George went from being funny to looking almost akin to a Hispanic Albert Einstein. I don't know how he pulled that off, but hey, if that's part of your routine, George, hey, more power to you. But he also said he was vacating the United States too. He put it under the reasonings of who won the election, but we're not going to talk about that being the reason. We think we know the reason why he's actually leaving or wanting to leave or suggesting to leave. Someone encountered him at an event, just walking in his little, I think it might have been a baseball game or something. And they asked him about the Diddy stuff. And he said, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about no Diddy nothing.
George, in your stand-up routine, are you going to cover the Diddy scandal at all? Like, have you thought about jokes, or is it off limits? What do you think? So you've always been outspoken. You've always been real in your routines. Have you thought about covering it and how you're going to approach it? You're not? Why not? Why?
Now, after the question was asked, he was walking up very fine, just same old George, and the question get asked, and all of a sudden his demeanor went from happy-go-lucky to, how is the quickest way I can get out of this location? What path can I take? And he turns around, he's looking for a way out. And as he's leaving, he turns around and watches the guy that asked him the question. And if looks could kill, and that person who asked the question wouldn't be here either. So my question is this: does George Lopez have skeletons in his closet when it comes to Diddy? Of course, probably not everybody does, because they probably all went to these parties. But at the same time, the real question is, what did he do there? Hit dogs will holler, right? That's what they say. Sometimes, though, a hit dog will take the hit and keep accumulating the hits until it's ready to bite back. I think George is the latter. I think for a long time, George kind of stayed in his lane and didn't say nothing. He'd throw jabs and jokes at people. And now he's older, however. And to have his name and legacy drugged through the mud, he's like, all right, enough with the jabs. You're hitting one hit too many, and now we're going to have problems. I don't put it past him to have a little bit of a gangster streak to him. I mean, he is who he is. But at the same time, he's not answering questions. And every time you ask someone a question, and so Too Strong, we love answering questions. And every time people don't answer questions, we feel like, what you hiding? Why won't you answer the question? How is it so difficult to answer questions? This is George. Okay, all you had to say was, look, man, I heard about the Diddy stuff. I ain't never been to none of them parties. I hope it gets worked out for all the people that went there and had problems, but all the victims, I hope they get justice. But I had never had nothing to do with Diddy. Not, don't talk to me about Diddy. We ain't talking about that. You know who has had the same exact reaction? Kevin Hart, which is kind of odd, because Kevin was in a lot of the videos too. So maybe George might have been one of those people that showed up to the white parties or the after parties, or stayed overnight, or went to the ones that were, exclusive. And he cannot afford to be seen speaking, speculating on, or even commenting on these parties. For many of you, we'll say, okay, Too Strong, listen. This whole Diddy thing, let the justice system handle it. Y'all talking too much about it. I would say something, but if I did, then I'd be looked at as a bully. I don't want to be a bully, but I want to ask you a very specific question. Why is it that our curiosity about things bothers so many people? I mean, we're just curious about the stuff. These people put it out there. Why don't you ask them, why are you talking about it, and always putting it out there for us to talk about? I'm not digressing yet. I want to hammer this point home before I get to the next point, because the next point is very vital to what I'm saying now. The speculation that people are putting on everything, including us, that's warranted. But when we speculate on people that actually have influence over the ones that are in our lives and family, we shouldn't. No. George put himself here. All he had to do was either not answer at all and do what he normally does, is not answer and walk away, or clear the air. I've never been to a Diddy party. I ain't going to no Diddy party. Whatever them bottles of oil was, I never touched them. I ain't never been there. So don't ask me those questions, please. I have nothing to say about it because if you want to get information, go check the court cases. My name's not mentioned. He didn't say that. He didn't say, why are you guys harassing me? Does it look like I have anything to do with that? Didn't say that either. He didn't even stand in solidarity with Diddy. Y'all need to stop talking about him. Let the justice system. He didn't say that either. He said, we're not going to talk about that Diddy stuff. Every time I've seen somebody say stuff like that, it's usually one of two things. I don't want to talk about it because I'm implicated, or I don't want to talk about it because I was told not to talk about it. We know that Hollywood people have handlers. We know that they have managers, and that's just another term for handlers. And we know they have contracts where they can't say something. Now, I had heard, I tell you, that there are some times at these parties for Diddy, outside of giving up your phone, you had to also sign that you can't say nothing. Now, suppose George was one of those. No, I'm not talking about what I did there. I'm not talking about Diddy. Went, whoa, 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 we can't. And quickly hurries away. George, I have a question for you. And this is directly to George Lopez. Were you at a Diddy party? No. Okay. Let me go a little bit deeper. What did you do at Diddy parties? Oh, maybe that's too close to home. Let me rephrase it a third time. George, if you did go to a Diddy party, what did you do there? Yeah, I think that's a better question. If you did go, what did you do? Because now you can say, I never went, so I didn't do anything. At some point, I think the list doesn't even need to get dropped. Like, honestly, I don't even think we need to have a list dropped by the authorities to say these are the people. I think they're going to out themselves. I think they're going to be so scared then the possibility that their name could be dropped in the public sphere that all of them by accident are going to tell us who they are, starting with George Lopez and a few other select actors and singers and comedians that are refusing to speak up, refusing to talk on behalf of victims. They give themselves away by what they don't say and how they do act. I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how this turns out. But people might again say you're just speculating, and that's exactly right. We are speculating because nobody knows. But at the same time, we have the right to speculate. We have the option to speculate, and we're going to speculate. I grew up watching George Lopez. I used to love his comedy. When he had the what was the show? I forget the name of the show. The Lopez's, I think is what it was called. Man, that stuff used to crack me up. And then all of a sudden, George just went like crazy. Oddly enough, when he went crazy, it was around, yeah, just around the time that those white parties took off. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think once you've given yourself over to a certain entity, you kind of have to act a certain way and accordingly in order to stay in the favor of said things. If these names do drop in the next year, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if Joe Lopez's name is on there. And if it is, how many of you people that are big fans of him are going to say, well, okay, it was different for him because here what happened was, see, all he was doing was going to crack joke, and he did like Denzel. He didn't stay for the after party. He just went because he was a party guy. And then we found out later that Denzel probably did stay and did a whole lot more. Don't be surprised if George Lopez joins that list. But like with anything else, all we do is offer you some information and you can decide what you're going to do with it. We honor these people way too highly, keep them almost as gods. Maybe it's about time we stop doing that and treat them like what they really are, demons.